The Galactic Council's pride. The great dome of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Representatives from 12 powerful species had gathered for the annual military display convention. Each race brought their finest warships to show off their strength and technology. Commander Vex of the Blue Star Empire stood tall, his scaled skin gleaming under the chamber lights. His people controlled the largest fleet in known space, over 10,000 battleships, each one the size of a small moon. The Blue Star vessels were famous for their energy shields that could stop any attack. Our new destroyer-class ships can wipe out entire solar systems, Vex announced proudly. The holographic display showed massive ships with glowing cannons. Each one carries enough firepower to crack a planet in half. The crowd murmured in approval. The Blue Star Empire had ruled the eastern sectors for 300 years. Their military might was legendary. Next came Admiral Rex from the Iron Claw Federation. His wolf-like features twisted into a grin as he activated his own display. "Impressive but primitive," he growled. "Our ships don't just destroy, they hunt. Watch this." The hologram showed sleek black vessels that moved like living creatures through space. They could bend light around themselves, becoming nearly invisible. Their weapons fired plasma bolts that could melt through any known metal. "We have 5,000 of these hunters," Rex boasted. "They can track enemies across entire galaxies. No one escapes the Iron Claw." Other races followed with their own presentations. The crystal beings showed ships made of living gemstones that could repair themselves instantly. The gas giants displayed vessels that could phase through solid matter. The Machine Collective revealed fleets of robotic ships that fought with perfect coordination. Each species tried to outdo the others. They spoke of weapons that could stop time, shields that existed in other dimensions, and engines that could cross the galaxy in minutes. The competition grew fierce as old rivals tried to prove their superiority. Then a small figure stepped forward. Ambassador Kate from Earth raised her hand for attention. She looked tiny compared to the towering aliens around her. Her simple blue uniform seemed plain next to their elaborate costumes. "Earth would like to participate," she said quietly. The chamber fell silent. Then laughter erupted from every corner. Commander Vex's scales rattled with amusement. "Admiral." Rex howled with glee. Even the usually serious crystal beings sparkled with mirth. "Humans," Vex chuckled. "You barely have space travel. Your entire species lives on one small world. What could you possibly show us?" Kate remained calm. "We have prepared a demonstration. May we proceed?" More laughter filled the air. The human request was so ridiculous that the council agreed just for entertainment. They expected to see primitive rockets or maybe a few small patrol ships. "Very well," announced the council speaker. "Let the humans show us their fleet." Kate nodded and activated Earth's display. The hologram showed empty space around Earth's solar system. The alien representatives leaned forward, squinting to see something. Anything. "I see nothing," Rex growled. "Where are your mighty warships, human?" "They're there," Kate replied simply. "You're just not looking in the right way." She pressed another button on her control device. Suddenly, space around Earth began to shimmer. What had appeared empty moments before now revealed something that made every alien in the chamber freeze. Ships. Thousands upon thousands of ships. They had been there all along, hidden by technology none of the alien races had ever seen. As their cloaking systems deactivated, a massive fleet materialized in the hologram. But these weren't just any ships. They were built differently from anything in the galaxy. While alien vessels focused on size and raw power, human ships seemed designed for something else entirely. They moved with purpose, positioning themselves in complex formations that created geometric patterns in space. The silence stretched on. The alien representatives stared at the display, trying to understand what they were seeing. The human fleet wasn't the largest. It numbered only in the hundreds compared to their thousands. But something about these ships felt different. Dangerous in a way that couldn't be measured by size or firepower alone. Kate watched their faces change from amusement to confusion, to something approaching concern. The laughter had died completely. Even the usually confident Commander Vex seemed uncertain. "This is just the beginning," Kate said softly. "Would you like to see what human engineering can really do?" The chamber remained silent. For the first time in galactic history, the great military powers of the universe had no response. They had come to boast about their battleships, but now all eyes were fixed on the small human woman and her impossible fleet. The demonstration was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same. Hidden strength revealed. The tension in the council chamber was thick enough to cut with a blade. Ambassador Kate stood calmly at her control panel, while thousands of human warships hung. In the holographic display above, the alien representatives had stopped laughing. Now they studied the human fleet with growing unease. Commander Vex was the first to break the silence. "Your ships, they were invisible. How is this possible? Our sensors detect everything within 10 light years, Kate smiled. Human technology developed differently than yours. While you focused on making bigger and stronger ships, we learned to hide them. Every vessel in our fleet uses quantum stealth systems. Your sensors can't detect what doesn't technically exist in normal space." Admiral Rex leaned forward, his predator instincts fully alert. "Stealth means nothing if your weapons are weak. Size matters in real combat." "Does it?" Kate asked. She touched her controls again. "Let me show you something interesting." The holographic view zoomed in on one of the smaller human ships. It looked almost fragile compared to the massive alien battleships. But as they watched, the ship began to change. Its hull opened in dozens of places, revealing weapon systems unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. This is the Raptor class, destroyer. Length, 800 meters. Crew, 200 humans. Standard armament, 0. 0 weapons. The crystal being representative pulsed with confusion. "How does it fight?" "It doesn't fight," Kate explained. "It hunts." She activated a combat simulation. The small human ship faced off against a Blue Star battleship in the hologram. The alien vessel was 20 times larger, bristling with energy cannons, and protected by shields that could stop planet-killer weapons. The battle began. The Blue Star ship fired massive energy beams that should have vaporized the human vessel instantly. But the beams passed right through empty space. The human ship wasn't where it appeared to be. "Dimensional displacement," Kate narrated. "Our ships can shift partially out of normal spacetime. Your weapons hit where we were, not where we are." The alien representatives watched in growing alarm as the tiny human ship danced around the massive battleship. It fired no visible weapons, made no obvious attacks. Instead, it simply touched the alien vessel's hull in several places. Nothing happened for a moment. Then the Blue Star battleship began to come apart. Not exploding, just quietly falling to pieces as if its atoms had forgotten how to hold together. "Molecular disruptors," Kate said casually. "We don't blow things up. We convince them to stop existing." Commander Vex's scales had turned pale. "Impossible. Our ships are made of quantum-bonded metals. Nothing can break those molecular structures." "Nothing alien," Kate corrected. "Human science took a different path. While you built stronger materials, we learned to make any material irrelevant." The simulation continued. More human ships joined the battle, each one demonstrating capabilities that defied everything the aliens thought they knew about warfare. Ships that could exist in multiple locations simultaneously. Weapons that attacked targets in the past before they could defend themselves. Vessels that converted enemy fire into additional power for their own systems. Admiral Rex's voice was barely a whisper. "How many ships do you have?" "In this system, about 400. Kate's answer was matter of fact. "But that's just our local defense force." "Local defense?" The Machine Collective's spokesperson processed this information with visible difficulty. "You mean there are more?" Kate nodded. "Every human colony has its own fleet. We have settlements in over 3,000 systems now. Each one is protected by ships like these." The math was staggering. If each human colony had even a small fleet, Earth's total military might could rival any of the great galactic powers. But these weren't the massive, expensive battleships the aliens built. These were efficient, deadly vessels that could do more damage with 200 crew members than alien ships with 50,000. "But you're so young," protested the gas giant representative. "Humans have only been in space for a few decades. How did you develop such advanced technology so quickly?" Kate's expression grew serious. "Because we had to. When we first detected alien signals, we realized we weren't alone in the universe. We also realized that every other species out there was older, stronger, and more advanced than us." She paused, letting that sink in. "So we did what humans do best. We adapted. We found a different way to survive. While you were building monuments to your own power, we were building tools for our survival." The alien representatives exchanged glances. For centuries, they had assumed humans were a primitive, harmless species confined to one small world. They had been completely wrong. Kate smiled at their discomfort. "Would you like to see what our real warships can do?" The true fleet emerges. The council chamber had grown deadly quiet. Ambassador Kate's question hung in the air like a challenge. The alien representatives who had come to boast about their mighty fleets now found themselves facing the impossible reality of human military power. "Real warships?" Commander Vex's voice cracked slightly. "Those were not your main battle fleet?" Kate shook her head. "Those were patrol ships, scouts, the vessels we use for routine system defense." She gestured to the holographic display where hundreds of human ships still floated in perfect formation. "Our actual warships are different." Admiral Rex's predatory instincts were screaming warnings. "How different?" Instead of answering directly, Kate activated a new sequence on her control panel. The view in the hologram pulled back, showing a wider area of space around Earth's solar system. At first, nothing seemed to change. Then, slowly, massive shapes began to materialize in the darkness between stars. These new ships dwarfed everything that had come before, not in the crude, bulky way of alien battleships, but with an elegant menace that made the watching aliens unconsciously step backward. The vessels seemed to bend space around themselves, their hulls reflecting starlight in patterns that hurt. "To look at directly. Titan-class battleships," Kate announced. "Length 15 kilometers, crew 10,000. Primary function, deep space warfare against superior numbers." The aliens stared in horrified fascination. The human battleships were actually smaller than many of their own flagships, but something about them radiated danger on a level none of them had ever encountered. 15 kilometers is not so large," Commander Vex said, trying to regain his confidence. "Our Imperial dreadnoughts are 50 kilometers long." "Size isn't everything," Kate replied. "Watch." One of the human battleships in the display seemed to blur slightly. Then it was gone, not invisible like the smaller ships, completely absent from space-time itself. Where did it go? The crystal being's voice resonated with anxiety. "Nowhere," Kate said. "And everywhere. Titan-class ships don't move through space. They move space around them. That ship is currently in 17 different locations simultaneously, while also existing in none of them." Before anyone could respond, the battleship reappeared. But now it was surrounded by perfect copies of itself. Dozens of identical vessels filled the display, each one as real as the original. "Quantum multiplication," Kate explained. "One ship becomes a fleet. Each copy has full combat capability until it's destroyed, or we choose to collapse the effect." Admiral Rex's military mind was racing through the implications. "How many of these Titan ships do you have?" "Classified," Kate said simply. "But I can tell you that each human colony system has at least one. Some have more." The math was becoming terrifying. 3,000 human colonies, each with one or more battleships that could multiply themselves and exist in multiple locations at once. The potential fleet size was beyond calculation. But Kate wasn't finished. "Of course, the Titans are just our standard heavy warships. We have other classifications for special situations." The display changed again. New shapes appeared in space. Vessels so strange they barely looked like ships at all. Some seemed to be made of living shadow. Others appeared to be geometric patterns that existed in too many dimensions. A few looked like they were built from crystallized time itself. Experimental. Ships, Kate continued. Each one is unique, designed for specific types of warfare. This one, she highlighted a ship that looked like a silver web stretched across space, can trap entire enemy fleets in temporal loops. They'll fight the same battle forever, never realizing they've already lost. She pointed to another vessel that seemed to flicker between existing and not existing. This one phases enemy weapons out of reality before they can fire. Their crews pull triggers, but the guns simply never existed in the first place. The alien representatives were beyond shocked now. They had entered this chamber believing themselves to be the supreme military powers of the galaxy. Now they were learning that a species they had dismissed as primitive possessed weapons and technologies that made their own fleets look like children's toys. Why? The question came from the Machine Collective's representative. Why build such overwhelming power? What do humans fear that requires this level of military preparation? Kate's expression grew somber. We don't fear anything specific. We fear everything possible. She looked around the chamber at the assembled aliens. When we first detected your signals, we learned that the galaxy was full of older, more established civilizations. We realized we had two choices: become strong enough to survive whatever we might encounter, or risk extinction. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. Humans chose survival. We chose to be so overwhelmingly powerful that no one would ever consider us easy prey. The chamber remained silent. The greatest military minds in the galaxy finally understood. They had been living in a universe where the most dangerous predator had been hiding in plain sight, disguised as harmless prey. Demonstration of power. The alien representatives stood frozen in the council chamber. The holographic display showed impossible human warships that defied every law of physics they thought they understood. But Ambassador Kate wasn't done with her revelations. I think some of you still don't fully grasp the situation, she said calmly. Perhaps a practical demonstration would be more convincing than simulations. Commander Vex found his voice first. Demonstration? You mean actual combat? Not combat, Kate corrected. Education. She touched her control panel, and the display shifted to show a remote star system on the galaxy's edge. 3 planets orbited a dying red sun, their surfaces barren and lifeless, perfect for what Kate had in mind. The Kepler 442 system, she announced. No life, no resources, no strategic value. We've been using it as a testing ground. The alien representatives watched as several shapes appeared in the distant system. They recognized them immediately. Blue Star Empire battleships, the same. Class Commander Vex had been boasting about earlier. Those are our ships, Vex protested. How did you get Imperial battleships? Kate's smile was thin. We didn't get them, we made them. Perfect copies, built from your own technical specifications. We've been studying your military technology for years. Admiral Rex stepped forward aggressively. Studying how? Those specifications are classified at the highest levels. Human intelligence networks are very thorough, Kate replied. We know the capabilities of every major fleet in the galaxy. Weapons, shields, tactics, weaknesses. We've cataloged everything. The display zoomed in on the replica Blue Star battleships. 3 of them hung in space around the largest planet, their massive hulls gleaming with energy shields. Each ship carried enough firepower to devastate a civilization. Now watch, Kate said. A single human ship appeared in the system. Not one of the massive Titans, but a smaller vessel about the size of a standard cruiser. It looked almost insignificant compared to the 3 alien battleships. The Blue Star ships detected the intruder immediately. Their weapons systems powered up, energy crackling along their hulls. Massive particle beams lanced out toward the human vessel. Enough concentrated firepower to vaporize a moon. The beams struck nothing. The human ship had simply stepped sideways through space-time, letting the attacks pass through empty dimensions. Before the alien ships could adjust their targeting, The human vessel had moved again, not closer. It had moved to 3 different locations simultaneously. Quantum positioning, Kate narrated, as the aliens watched in growing horror. The ship exists in multiple tactical positions at once. Your ships have to choose which version to shoot at, but they're all real until the moment of impact. The human ship fired back, not with visible weapons or energy beams, but with something far more subtle. Space around the first Blue Star battleship began to twist. The massive vessel's hull started to fold in on itself like a piece of paper, being crumpled by invisible hands. Gravitational shearing, Kate explained. We create localized gravity fields that exceed the structural limits of enemy vessels. The ship destroys itself under forces it can't resist. The first battleship collapsed into a dense sphere of twisted metal and disappeared. The remaining 2 ships tried to flee, their engines glowing as they attempted to reach jump speed. They never got the chance. The human vessel had positioned itself in their escape route without appearing to move. As the Blue Star ships tried to jump to hyperspace, they found their way blocked by fields of altered space-time that made faster-than-light travel impossible. Hyperspace interdiction, Kate continued her calm commentary. We can lock down entire star systems, preventing any ship from escaping once combat begins. The second Blue Star battleship tried a different approach. It launched thousands of smaller fighter craft, hoping to overwhelm the single human ship with numbers. The fighters swarmed toward their target like angry insects. They never reached it. As they crossed an invisible boundary around the human vessel, the fighters simply stopped. Not destroyed, not disabled, stopped. They hung motionless in space, as if time itself had frozen around them. Temporal stasis. Fields, Kate noted. Enemy weapons and ships become trapped in bubbles of slowed time. From their perspective, they're still moving normally. From our perspective, they're moving so slowly they might as well be stationary. The third battleship, seeing the fate of its companions, attempted to surrender. It powered down its weapons and began broadcasting surrender signals on all frequencies. The human ship's response was swift and final. The battleship simply ceased to exist, not destroyed by weapons fire, not torn apart by gravity. It was there, one moment and gone the next, as if it had never been built. Quantum deletion, Kate finished. We remove the quantum signature that allows matter to exist in this reality. The ship doesn't explode or break apart. It just stops being real. The entire demonstration had taken less than 5 minutes. 3 of the galaxy's most powerful battleships had been eliminated by a single human cruiser, using weapons and tactics the aliens couldn't even comprehend. The council chamber was silent, except for the sound of several species breathing heavily in fear. The new galactic order. The demonstration was over. In the council chamber, the greatest military powers in the galaxy stood in stunned silence. 3 of their most advanced battleships had been eliminated in minutes by a single human vessel using technologies they couldn't understand. Ambassador Kate turned off the holographic display and faced the assembled alien representatives. Their expressions had changed completely from the beginning of the meeting. Gone was the arrogance and competitive boasting. In its place was something none of these proud species had felt in centuries: genuine fear. I trust that was educational, Kate said quietly. Commander Vex was the first to find his voice, though it shook as he spoke. Your ship. It used weapons we've never seen. Technologies that shouldn't be possible. Shouldn't be possible for you, Kate corrected. Human science. Developed along different paths. While your species focused on making traditional weapons bigger and stronger, we focused on making them irrelevant. Admiral Rex stepped forward, his predatory instincts warring with newfound caution. What do you want from us? Surrender? Tribute? Kate looked genuinely surprised. Want from you? Nothing. We didn't reveal our capabilities to threaten anyone. We did it to prevent misunderstandings. Misunderstandings. The crystal being's voice resonated with confusion. Yes, Kate nodded. For too long, the galactic community has operated under certain assumptions about humanity. You've seen us as primitive, weak, confined to one small world. Some of your species have even discussed intervention in human affairs. The aliens exchanged uncomfortable glances. Several civilizations had indeed been considering various forms of action against Earth, everything from trade restrictions to military occupation of human colonies. Kate continued, "We wanted to make sure everyone understood the real situation before any unfortunate decisions were made. Humanity isn't looking for conflict, but we're prepared for it if it comes." "Prepared?" Commander Vex's scales had turned pale. "You call this prepared? Your ships can delete matter from reality." "Among other things," Kate agreed. "But we'd rather not use these capabilities. Humans prefer peaceful solutions when possible. Though Machine Collective's representative processed this information with visible difficulty. If you possess such overwhelming power, why remain hidden? Why not claim territory? Assert dominance?" Kate smiled sadly. "Because that's not who we are. Humans learned long ago that true strength comes from restraint, not aggression. We built these weapons to ensure our survival, not to conquer others." She gestured to the now empty holographic display. "Every human ship, every weapon, every technological advantage exists for one purpose: to make sure humanity never faces extinction. We're not interested in ruling the galaxy. We just want to live in it safely." Admiral Rex's military mind was still processing the implications. "But with power like this, you could dominate every species here. Why would you choose not to?" "Because domination creates enemies," Kate replied. "And enemies eventually find ways to strike back. We'd rather have neighbors than subjects, allies than slaves." The gas giant representative floated forward. "What happens now? How do we proceed knowing what we know?" Kate considered this carefully. "That depends on all of you. Humanity is willing to join the galactic community as equals. We can share some of our technologies. Not the weapons, but advances in medicine, agriculture, energy production. Things that help rather than harm." She paused, looking at each representative in turn. "But we need assurance that human colonies and trade routes will be respected, that our right to exist freely in the galaxy is acknowledged." "And if we refuse?" Commander Vex asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "Then we'll continue as we have been," Kate said simply. "Hidden, watching, protecting ourselves. But we won't attack unless attacked first. Humans aren't conquerors by nature." The council speaker, who had remained silent throughout the demonstration, finally spoke. "The council must deliberate on these revelations. This changes everything we thought we knew about the balance of power in the galaxy." "Take all the time you need," Kate said. "But remember, we've been watching and learning about your civilizations for decades. We know which species are naturally aggressive and which prefer peace. We know who can be trusted and who cannot." Her words carried an unspoken warning that wasn't lost on anyone present. As the meeting concluded, the alien representatives filed out in subdued groups, their earlier confidence completely shattered. They had come to boast about their battleships and compete for military supremacy. Instead, they had learned that the most dangerous force in the galaxy had been watching them all along, hidden behind a mask of apparent weakness. Kate gathered her materials and prepared to leave. The galactic balance of power had shifted forever. Humanity was no longer the galaxy's newest and weakest species. They were its most dangerous guardian, and everyone now knew it. The age of human secrecy was over. The age of human recognition had begun.